What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, coming back at you with another A.M.A. This one is a really good one. Super excited to dive in, but before we do, let's roll the intro. All right, so this question is brought to us by Jen Spencer, and he says, I am 55 years old and 6'5". I'm 250 pounds and at 28% body fat. I'm eating 200 grams of protein per day, under 20 grams of carbs, under 30 grams of fat. I am restarting my physical fitness and would fall into the newbie category as a weightlifter bodybuilder. My total caloric intake is on average of around 2,100 calories per day, and my resting BMR is 2180. But I am seeing the weight slowly rise. I have gotten down to 239 from 320 by multiple day fasting and reduced caloric intake on my eating days. I decided to resume a higher calorie intake because of what I believe was muscle loss from fasting, and I'm determined to look a bit more like Sean Baker. Sean Baker, shout out right there. I was a carpenter and construction guy most of my life and had always been in great shape. My question is this: if I continue to eat at 80 to 85% protein and then fill in the rest with mostly fats before carbs, am I hurting myself, or will my body utilize the protein efficiently to build muscle without needing to up the other macros? I obviously want to reduce body fat as I gain muscle. Thank you a ton. All right, so this is a pretty involved question, a lot to unpack here. Let's dive in. First of all, 55 years old, 6'5", 250 pounds. So you got probably quite a bit of muscle on your frame anyways. You gave me macros of 200 grams of protein, under 20 carbs, and under 30 fat. But I did the math on that, and it winds up being about 1,150 calories. So I don't know what you mean exactly by your average calorie intake being around 2,100, if the macros you gave me are around 1,100. So let's just dive into this. I don't know how long you've been in a deficit, but if you've been eating what you just said at around 1,150 calories and you've been doing a lot of multiple day extended fasts in the past, I would venture to say you've probably been in a deficit for quite some time. You still have some body fat to lose. You're trying to lose that body fat, but not at the expense of muscle. If you eat 80 to 85% of your calories coming from protein without either an energy source in carbs or energy source in fat, you're not going to have much energy coming in from a nutritional standpoint. The fat is a lever protocol in which basically if you have fat to lose, you don't need to consume a lot of dietary fat, is not necessarily flawed, but it's an incredible oversimplification of the process. I don't know how fat adapted you are. A lot of people make the mistake of going, ultra low dietary fat, ultra low carbs, and a ton of protein when they first start a low carb diet because they have fat to lose, but their body is not yet fat adapted. So you're going to feel miserable. You're not going to have any energy, and that's going to make it entirely unsustainable to begin with. So I wouldn't really ever recommend 80 to 85% of your calories come strictly from protein on any diet, no matter what your goals are, because that's just a ton of protein relative to an energy source. You're not really going to be able to sustain that. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to, there's not going to be any flavor in your food. So I wouldn't recommend going that heavily skewed towards protein. Also, if you have been under eating, if you have been chronically underfed, which if you're eating 1,100 calories you're probably going to benefit from a reverse diet period. What I would recommend doing is make sure you're getting ample protein, like have 200, 250 grams of protein a day, but then start increasing the fat if you're wanting to go the fat adapted approach, and increase the total calories over time. Focus on training. If you're a newbie in the gym, like you mentioned, your body's going to respond pretty readily to that training stimulus because you haven't really been subjecting it to it up to this point. So you're going to get a lot of those newbie gains. So if you start increasing your calories, a lot of that increased calorie intake is going to be partitioned towards building more lean mass and not body fat. Now, quick little caveat here. You probably will gain some body fat if you do dip into a caloric surplus, which kind of comes with the territory. But again, if you're a newbie trainer, a lot of that's going to be mostly lean mass and not body fat. So to summarize, I would highly encourage you to eat more of an energy source, whether that's carbs if you want to go the carb route, or fat if you want to go the fat route, preferably the fat route. A little biased there probably. Make sure you're still getting enough protein, but increase overall calories. Focus on the weight training. Put those calories to use. When it comes to losing body fat and building muscle, you can do them simultaneously, but you're not really going to optimize for either if you're doing that. So I highly encourage anybody to pick one primary objective and focus on that. If you've been in a deficit for quite some time, like it sounds like you have, you probably would benefit from a reverse diet and switching your focus to a building phase and optimize for building as much lean mass as you can. The more lean mass you have, the more your body's going to tolerate higher calories anyways, because muscle's basically a calorie absorber. So you can tolerate more calories without any adverse effects if you have more muscle. So I would encourage you to increase your dietary fat intake, train hard in the gym, spend some time in a healthy maintenance or surplus, and then transition into a deficit period gradually. And when you go into that deficit, you can reduce both protein and dietary fat depending on what your body responds best to shed more body fat. So that's kind of a long-winded answer there. Hopefully that sheds some light on your question. You asked for some peanut butter bricks, so we've got some peanut butter bricks headed your way, brother. If you have any other questions, by all means, shoot them to me. The way this A.M.A works for anybody that does not know is if you use the link in the description below, submit a solid question. I use that question on one of these A.M.A videos. I will send some bricks of your choosing to you, and everybody's happy. Everybody wins. So thanks again. I love these questions. I love the feedback that we're getting. So keep them coming, and I'll talk to y'all next time.